It used to be the case that Medicare only released fee updates twice a year, in May and November. However, these days, Medicare and health funds may release a new schedule of fees every month. That's why it's vitally important that each practice has a designated member of staff responsible for getting the fees updated each month. Regretfully, Zedmed support staff are not permitted to do this on your behalf. However, the process is semi-automatic, so once you know what to do, it's pretty straightforward. Many sites get their IT staff to do it as a regular part of site maintenance. The fee updates can be done on any of your computers running Zedmed. It doesn't need to be done on the server, nor does it need other staff members to be logged out at the time. You also need to only do this once for the database, not for each branch you might have if they're on the same database. So the update needs to be done every month. Sometimes there might not be much to do. Sometimes there'll be more. It's recommended that you check in around about the end of the first week of each month. That way we'll likely have all of the fee updates ready for you at that time. The general process of updating your fees involves downloading the new fee schedule files from the Zedmed website and then running them into your Zedmed software. In order for you to download the new fee schedule files, you'll need to go to the Zedmed website. If you don't already have it bookmarked, you can go to the web address at the top of your browser and type in zedmed.com.au. That's zedmed.com.au. Okay. Along the top of our Zedmed website, you'll see our support phone number, the green help button that leads to our support site with manuals and how-to guides, and this login button here. So we'll click on the login button. It takes us to this client login page here. The username and password that you use for this page is specifically for this website. It isn't your Zedmed login. Some practices will have just one login for the site, but anybody can request a new account in case perhaps you don't know the password that is used for the other account. If you've just forgotten your password, you can click on the Forgot Your Password section, and the site will ask you a few security questions to reset your password. Alternatively, if you don't have an account at all, you can come down to Request an Account. You'll just fill in a short form and your new account should be ready within a day. Having a login to this site gives you access to a variety of other features as well, including the software you need for Zedmed updates, also clinical form templates that you can load into your Zedmed, manuals, and a variety of other goodies. Now I'm just going to go ahead and use my own login for this site here, but it'll be exactly the same for you. Okay. So while we're logged into this site, you can ignore everything apart from these yellow folders in the middle here. So let's just single click on Client Login Area and come down to Fee File Updates. And we'll go into, we pick the particular year you're wanting to load and the month you're wanting to load. So let's go into 2020 and January. Okay, so in this particular folder, we're going to be downloading all of the files that are relevant to you. One of the things you're pretty much always going to want to download is the MBS file. So let's scroll down and look for that. And here we go. There's the MBS file here. So I recommend to download these files. The best way to do it is to right-click on the words there. And no matter which browser you're in, there should be an option that says something along the lines of save. In this particular case, in Chrome, it's save link as. So we'll select that one there. It gives us the option to save the file somewhere. Now, it's my recommendation, even though you could just save it on the desktop, for instance, that could get messy quickly. So I'd recommend making a folder in a nice, convenient location, wherever you want to put it. Could be on your desktop, could be somewhere else. A nice, convenient folder for you to save those files in. So I'm going to create one on the desktop here called fee updates. Z on it for fun. Open that there. I'm just going to save that file into it. Just the same, you go through all of the files in this current month folder. Sometimes there'll be lots of files in the folder. Some months there'll be only a few. Depends on month by month. So you'd go through this and save the appropriate ones. Have a look and see what's there. So if there's DVA in this, you would need to download all 3 DVA files. They always come in 3. Perhaps you might need WorkSafe or TAC. If you're billing using some of the health funds, you'd have to download some of those as well. Take care to get the right versions of the files. You'll see that some of them are specific to certain states. And you'll find some of the versions of the file are gap, no gap, or GP versus specialist. You see with HCF here, there's HCF known gap, HCF no gap. So it's appropriate to it's important to know which particular files you need to download. So you're just going to go through this and download anything that's relevant for that particular month. Has it been a while since you last updated your fees? If you're not sure, here's how you can check. In Zedmed, go to the Management tab, then to Practice Setup, Items, and then Item Details. On this screen here, type in an item code that's commonly used at your practice. For example, 104, and then hit the Enter key on the keyboard. You can press Enter again to open that service item. This page shows all the current info that your Zedmed has about this service item, all the current fees and so on. If you check up in the top right-hand corner of the screen there should be a validity period with the date and the from, and nothing in the to. This date is most likely the most recent month for which your fees have been updated. If you're convinced that it's not the case, or think there's just something a little screwy with this particular service item, go down to the bottom left corner of the same window where there's 2 arrows. Clicking on the right pointing arrow will browse to subsequent service items, 105 and so on, so we can check the date on those. If you find, for example, that your fees haven't been updated since July last year, you'll need to go back to the following month, August, download and run those fee files, before moving on to September, download and run, October, and so on. You can't just catch up by running the fee files from the current month. While your Medicare fees may turn out correct, a number of your other fees like DVA or health funds are quite likely to be incorrect. Also, if you're doing backdated billing, the fees for previous months will likely be incorrect. So, best not to miss any months, but if you do need to catch up, it's as simple as repeating the following process for each month that you've missed. Here's a helpful little summary of what you need to do for each month when you come to update the fees. In fact, Depending on which month you're loading, you might not need to do all 3 steps. Yay! But whichever steps you do need, do them in this order. So step 1, adding new item codes. Do you need to add any new service items this month? These are the service items that you've never billed before at your practice. Medicare has a vast number of service items, but to make things simpler and faster, your practice has only loaded the items that are actually used here. You'll use the MBS file you downloaded to load new service items of your choice. Most of the time, you don't need any new items loaded, so you can skip this step. Step 2, updating MBS fees. You'll pretty much always need this step. You get the MBS file you downloaded, load it into your Zedmed, and it'll update all the Medicare fees for your items to make them up to date for the current month. And then step 3, updating DVA, work cover, health funds, so on. Sometimes you might not need this step. Sometimes you might need to do a lot in this step, especially if you have lots of health fund files to load into Zedmed. One at a time, you'll load DVA, WorkSafe, Bupa, Medibank, whichever you need and have new files for this month. You just do the same thing each time, so it's pretty straightforward. In your Zedmed, go to the Management tab, go down to Practice Setup, and Items. See these 2 options down the bottom here? With the 3-step process I described to you just now, step 1 and 2 are in update/load MBS fees, and step 3 is in update other fees. Step number 1, adding new service items. Okay, so this month we want to add in some new items that the doctor hasn't billed before. Remember, we always do this as the first step before updating any fees. So we go into the Management tab, down to Practice Setup, down to Items, Update Load MBS Fees. These 2 items up the top represent step 1 and step 2. So because we're adding in items in at the moment, we'll just be doing step 1. We put the new service item code into this top box here. You don't need to worry about whether it's already in the system, as it won't get added in twice. In fact, I'll show you. We'll put in the pre-existing item 104 into the system. Come down to the bottom of the left-hand side. Click Load Item. Let's find that folder on our desktop, the Fee Updates folder. There we go. Open that up. Here's the MBS file we're looking for. We select that. Come down and click Open in the bottom right. You see it's returned saying 0 items loaded because 104 is already in the system. Let's do a proper item though. So instead we'll come up to the item code section here, put 120 in there, come down and do load item, go to that folder again on the desktop, fee updates, the MBS file, down to open in the bottom right. There you go, you see it's now loaded with the full description of the item, but it's up to us to put in a short description for it. And the short description is what will actually appear on the invoices. Whatever you put into this section, you can edit it later on. Sometimes if people are pressed for time, they'll just simply copy a large chunk of text from the full description and it just gets cut off when you put too much in it. So we'll just copy that there and paste. You see, and it just put the start of that description there. Maybe you can edit it later on. Next, you come down to the bottom and press continue so that the item gets loaded in. There you go, it's been loaded in. Click OK, and it's now ready to add a new item. Another new item. If you don't need to add any extra ones, you can just come down the bottom here and click close. Okay, so the second step, updating MBS fees. Now we're updating all the items with the latest Medicare fees. Once again, this is done in the Management tab, going down to Practice Setup, down to Items, and Update/Load MBS fees. Remember how I told you that the top two options corresponded to steps 1 and 2? Now we're on to step 2, so we click the second one, Update Existing MBS Items. As you can see, the screen shrinks down, and now we just have this date on the right-hand side. This can be a little fiddly at times, but you need to make sure that this date is the start of the month that you're loading into Zedmed. Be aware the system still thinks that we only upload fees in May and November, so it'll try to get you to change this date. Read all pop-up messages carefully because you don't want to load the wrong month. Okay, so here we go. Let's put in the 1st of January, 1st of the 1st, 2020. And we press update once. Okay, so here's this pop-up I warned you about. If you look carefully, it's saying that maybe we should change the date back to the 1st of November. No, we want to tell it to use the actual date we gave it, 1st of January. So we press no. If you catch yourself just after you press yes, you can just come back in and edit the date again. Now we press update again. Now this time we need to go and find that MBS file again. First go to the bottom right hand corner, just above open, we have this strange file name here. You need to click and change that to XML files. If you don't do that, you won't actually be able to find the MBS file. Okay, then just navigate back to that convenient folder. Here we go on the desktop, I've got my fee updates. Open that one up there. So select the MBS file. Come down and click open. Now if you wait for a few moments, it'll look like nothing's happening, but it's just preparing, getting ready to do the things. There you go. Sometimes it'll take a little bit longer than that, but to let you know that several of the items have been updated there. Sometimes it could take a little bit longer, but you just let it run, and within a minute or two, it'll update those fees. So then we can just click OK and close. So, step 3, we're updating any third-party health funds. This includes DVA and WorkSafe, but also if you bill to health funds, we'll include loading their fees as well. You always do this as the third step. In some months you may have nothing to load at all. In some months there'll be several files to load, but it's really just repeating the same thing several times. So it's pretty straightforward. Once again, we go into the Management tab, down to Practice Setup, Items. But this time we pick that last option down there, Update Other Fees. This screen is some very similar elements to the ones we've already seen, in particular the date up the top here. So we need to remember to set that to the date matching the files that we're currently loading. Once again though, it is going to be tricky and ask us some questions about that in a moment, so we need to read those messages carefully when they pop up. Let's put the 1st of January 2020 in there. Okay, next we'll jump all the way down to the bottom here. So as you'll notice, load from file is grayed out. So we just move a little bit up here. It says from fee or from file. So we're going to be saying we want to load the new fees from the file. Then we'll need to move just a bit above that there and choose which particular fee we're updating, because if we don't change this section, it's going to override the private fees for this Dr. Costanza here. Click on that drop down. Depending on how your site was set up, your fee types might be in a different order to what's showing here. It's best to start off from the top of the menu and work your way down the list based on which files you downloaded. Alternatively, you could write a list on your notepad and tick off the ones you've loaded. The first one on this list that we downloaded is, there we go, DVA LMO, one of the 3 DVA types. Let's select that one. Now we can click Load from File. Now it just so happens in this particular case, it's automatically jumped to the particular relevant folder that I needed, but if it wasn't already showing the folder you needed, you can click on, you can just navigate to it, so click on Desktop, back to Fee Updates. Now, it might show you the folders, the files that you're looking for, but it might not. If you can't see the files you're looking for, and it's always a good thing to try, come down here where it says January Fund Files and change that to either of the other options there. All files is a good one, so it just shows all of the files. Okay, so now we'll come down and select the correct DVA file. There we go, DVA LMO, and click Open. And you'll see here it's asking us about the date we set. This is one of those messages you need to read carefully because it's actually asking a different question to the one earlier. This one is asking if we want to continue with the date we gave it or go back so we can put in a different date. This time we're going to be saying yes because we want it to use the date we gave it. It's a different question to the other one, so it has a different answer. And then we let that run. Nearly there. Okay, see, commonly this message will pop up saying no item fees have been updated. This is a minor bug. Your fees will have been updated anyway. You can click OK on that there. You've updated the fees for that particular fee type, so now you're ready to load the next one. You won't need to redo the date or the from file or anything like that. It's just as simple as selecting the next item on the list and click Load to find that file. So we could come down, perhaps do DVA in, for instance, and just load that one in, find the file there. The only occasion where you might need to put a new date in is if you'd totally closed out of this screen already and came back again. and it'll also keep on asking us that question about the dates. Now, some fee files get loaded into the system using generic names. If you're loading TAC files, that gets loaded in as motor vehicle. It's the same as if you're in South Australia and you're loading the return to work South Australia file. WorkSafe fee files get loaded in as work cover. Remember, if you've been loading your files consistently every month, you won't need to load all of the fee types every month, only the one that you found files for in this month's folder. The other fees that didn't change will automatically get copied across from the last month you put in. Each month, after updating your fees, you'll also need to check your derived items. To see those, let's jump back into the Management tab, go down to Practice Setup, Items. This time, we'll check the specific item details. Let's put in a really low item number in here, say for instance 23 if it's available to you. Press Enter, and I'll press Enter again to load the details of that one. We can now use, as you see, that this particular page has loaded all of the item fees and everything for item number 23. If you come down to the bottom left-hand corner, like we did earlier, you can see that you can use the Previous and Next buttons to navigate or browse to other items there. What we're looking for is any items that have the derivation item section filled in down here. Those are the ones that we need to check. So let's come down here and click Next. And yep, there already is our first derivation item. So this is item 24. Its fee is based on the fee for 23. So there's three things we need to do. The first thing we need to do is click Get Derivation Item. It's just in case this fee has changed. The fee for 23 has changed, so the fee for 24 will need to change as well. That just changes the value up there. But next, we need to check that these dollar amounts are correct. The way that we do that is that we come over to the Details tab here in the middle, click on that, and near the top of this section here it should mention $2 amounts. So you see we've got $26.75 there. Let's see. Yes, yep. So that looks like it hasn't changed. And the other one is $2.10. And that hasn't changed as well. So that's good. So sometimes they'll change, sometimes they won't. You just have to check in with it each time. We'll continue on our way and it'll automatically save when we move to a new item if we had changed anything. Let's click Next. That's not a derivation item. There's another derivation item, 36. So 37 is based on 36. So remember those three things. We click Get Derivation Item. So it can update the schedule fee there if the item it's based on has changed. And check the dollar amounts, $26.75 and $2.10. Up into the Details tab, $26.75 and $2.10. Excellent, so that one hasn't changed either. Then we can just continue on through the rest of the items there to see if there's any that are derived items and make sure that each of those are up to date. Some months you might also be notified that you need to update the doctor's fees, the doctor's private fees. Obviously, you won't need to do this every month, so it's just a sometimes thing. To update those, there's three different ways you could do it. You can come into Management here, Practice Setup, Items. This time we'll go into the item details. Let's put perhaps an item 23 in there again, good old trusty item 23. Press enter, and enter again to bring up the details. If we click on the Doctors tab here, we'll see some private fees that the doctors charge for this particular item. If we like, we can just manually go in and change the value of some of these. As you see, it's possible to put a discount rate as well as their full rate as well. So you can just manually go in and change it, and it will only change for the current month. It won't change for the previous month as well. So if we click Next to browse to the next item, it'll stay on this tab, make it easy to change the things, and it will save those values. So there's no private fees for that one, but there's some more private fees up here as well. So we could maybe put that up by $5 as well. We just go through changing things as we need to that way there. There is another way that you can change their fees in bulk. So we'll close that there. Head back to practice setup, items, and update other fees. Once again, if we're going to use this screen, we have to make sure up the top there it's got the date for the current month. Because if you update previous months instead, it won't affect the current month. So we've got the 1st of January up there. So we're going to be updating, let's see, Dr. Seinfeld's fees. We're going to be updating them based on, obviously, his old fees. So perhaps his previous month's fees plus $5 for each one that he has a fee. It won't give him a fee where he currently has no fee. But just so any fees that he's currently got, increase them by $5 and put them. This represents the new month here, so put them in these new month's fees there. Alternatively, instead of just adding $5 to everything, you could perhaps increase them all by 2%. So this is take the previous Dr. Seinfeld fees, increase them all by 2%, and store them back in Dr. Seinfeld's one there. Then you could record it to the nearest 5 cents. You just click Update. That'll scan through and do those there. So once again, like we had much earlier, this message we've got to read carefully to see what it says, and it's saying, you sure you want to continue with that date of January? Yes, we do. That's why we chose it. There you go, and it's quickly updated all of those fees by 2%. Also, if you're setting up a new doctor and you want their private fees to be based on another doctor's fees, what you could do, you could come down here and you could say, okay, we've added in this new Dr. Crimea, and we want all of his fees to be $5 more, or maybe $10 more than Dr. Seinfeld's fees. So that it'll basically take anything that Dr. Seinfeld has a fee for, add $10, and put in Dr. Crimea's fees. We can go through and update that there. There we go. Once again, asking us that. Yes. And there we go. So it's just adding in fees where Dr. Seinfeld had any fees. There is also a more technical option. If you have a large number of fees that are all changing by different amounts for one particular doctor, you could put them together into a spreadsheet. I'll show you an example. Here we have an Excel spreadsheet, and as you see here, the first column is the particular item number. And this is just a spreadsheet just for one doctor. So for each item number, you've just got a single column of fees here, and that is that particular doctor's private rate. So So you can just build this spreadsheet up yourself if you like, or maintain a copy of it. So you just 2 columns. Like I say, the first column, and it can only have 2 columns. The first column is the item, the second column is the fee. When you come to save it, come up here to File. Let's do Save As. Make sure when you save it, you don't save it as Excel, you save it as comma delimited. So we're saving this as Dr. Costanza, comma delimited. We'll save that one there. Perhaps we'll even save it on our desktop. Desktop. And where was the ready fees? The updates, there we go. And save that in there. Back in Zedmed, go to Practice Setup, down to Items, and update other fees again. Let's put the 1st of January back in again. This time we come down, update fee, so we are updating Dr. Costanza's fees. We're not updating them from another fee, we're updating them from file this time. And then we're going to load from file. So we're pretty much just loading the fees in exactly the same way that we updated DVA earlier, the health funds and so on. Load from file. Come down on this list here. And where's the Dr. Costanza? Ah, that's right. Remember what I told you before, but I forgot myself just now. You should always make sure you change this drop down here to something other than the January fund files, either of the other 2 options. Scroll down now, and there we go. Now Dr. Costanza appears. That was just a little test for you. We can select that one, click Open. Once again, it'll ask us the question about the dates. We can click Yes to continue, and it will load all of those new items in for Dr. Costanza. There we go. It's updated that there. Okay, so we've come to the end. Got a quick quiz for you here. So, how often should I be updating my fees? 2, if it's been a while since I updated my fees, can I just load the files in the current folder? And 3, I can't find a fee type for TAC or return to work when loading their fees. Where are they? I'll give you a few moments to jot down the answers there. Okay, so how often should I be updating my fees? You should be doing that every month. At least you need to be checking with the Zedmed website every month to ensure that you've loaded any relevant files available there. Remember, either you do it yourself or you delegate a staff member to do it, potentially your IT staff. If it's been a while since I updated my fees, can I just load the files in the current folder? Unfortunately, that wouldn't be a good idea, just loading the files from the current month's folder, because you may have missed quite a number of price increases since then, and your current fees would be incorrect, particularly if you're running health funds. So the appropriate thing to do if you've missed a few months is to go back to the first month you've missed, load all of the fees for that as that particular month. Say, for instance, in our earlier example, that was loading them for August. And then you download all of the fees for September and load all of them in with the date of September, and then load all the fees for October and so onwards. That way you ensure that you won't miss any of the price increases. Question 3, I can't find a fee type for TAC or return to work when loading in their fees. Where are they? So if you recall, some particular fee types are just generic. In the case of TAC or return to work, RTWSA, they get loaded in as motor vehicle in the update other items section. The same as WorkSafe gets loaded in as work cover. And do remember when you're downloading the files to ensure that you're downloading the appropriate files for your particular practice, so they're for the correct state, and that you've answered the question whether it's gap or no gap, and in some cases whether it's GP or specialist. Thanks for attending our Lunch and Learn today. Please remember you'll need to re-register for all future Lunch and Learn webinars, and please check on our website for more details. The Lunch and Learn sessions are recorded and will be available on our website. Please email any feedback to implementation@zedmed.com.au. If you want more information, you can use the Zedmed client login to access a library of how-to guides and manuals. Alternatively, you can call our support desk from Monday to Friday. There's also after-hours support for urgent inquiries. So the support team on 1300 933 000 or email support@zedmed.com.au. Have a great day.